Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. What a Friday we are having here. Yeah, I know I'm not wearing anything Marvel or WandaVision related, and it's Friday, but we've already done WandaVision, man. That started at 3. We got the non-spoiler and the spoiler are up. I've already watched a trailer reaction for Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. And we got our first 2021 film from Warner Brothers that drops on HBO Max in theaters same day and same time, apparently, as WandaVision. As long as WandaVision's running every other week when we get these big drops from Warner Brothers on HBO Max and in theaters where available, you're going to have, looks like a little bit of a 3 a.m. competition going on. And naturally, for me, Marvel won that one because, oh gosh, WandaVision's so good. But this is a movie that I was very, very excited about. I mean, you're talking about 3 of my favorite actors, out there right now. You got Rami Malek and Jared Leto, who are 2 guys that I just adore to watch anytime they do anything because they're interesting on screen. Leto, more so than maybe anybody we've ever seen on screen. That guy does interesting roles and fully commits in ways that many actors don't. And then you got my all-time fave in Denzel. And you're putting these 3 guys inside a genre, the neo-noir crime drama, that I eat up, man. And this is a crime drama that lives and breathes in the 90s, one of my favorite periods of time for these types of movies, specifically because you got a bunch of Denzel in that period of time. And yet, all of these things come together in this movie, and I didn't love this movie. It's kind of crazy to say out loud, because I don't say that very often, specifically just with Denzel movies. But this one missed the mark a little bit for me. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We are getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into the little things. And as I said, this is our first 2021 HBO Max day and date. Get it on the streaming service. Get it in theaters where open. And like I said, it dropped at 3A. And I'm certainly glad I prioritized the way I did because this movie may have put me to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's not to say that it's boring, but it is a slow burn. And I do enjoy a good slow burn crime drama or detective case where you're chasing down a serial killer like you're doing here. And yet the movie, while it does a lot of the things that those 1990s, crime dramas did, things like Devil in the Blue Dress or Seven, it does some of those things. But it kind of lacks in originality a little bit. And in the areas where it does try to be original, it doesn't always work for me. But that is to no fault of these 3 gentlemen up here, because they're all tremendous, and all of them are doing really interesting things on camera. Denzel, like I said, you're talking about a guy who's played every shade of a cop you could get, man. He's been the holiest of holy to the dirtiest of dirty. And his character here, Joe Deacon, better known as Deke, certainly needs that full palette of colors, for his color wheel. Because this movie's got like a double mystery going on, right? You got this serial killer that's popped up. He's killed, I think, up to 6 people now. And when Denzel comes across this investigation, it reminds him of a killing similar to a case that he had. So you kind of have this mystery going on, but at the same time, there's something going on with Denzel's character and his past that we don't quite know. There's a reason that the character is the way the character is when we find him, and the movie has to unpack that as well as the mystery that's directly in front of us. And because of that, you kind of get that full spectrum scale of performance from Washington, where sometimes you don't necessarily always trust him. Other times you're riding shotgun, ride or die with him, and I love watching Denzel just function in movies like this because he is so good. He brings so much familiarity to a movie like this that, he knows how to navigate it in a way that just brings you in, even if the movie isn't necessarily pulling you in as much as you want it to. Same goes for Rami Malek. As I said, Denzel kind of comes across this investigation where he's working. They send him down to pick up evidence for another case that they need, where they are. and he kind of stumbles across this. So you've got your older cop. This is where I get the Seven vibes, right? The older cop, younger cop. And the new guy on the scene is Rami Malek's character. And one of those things we find out is Denzel used to work at this precinct. So you really do have the vet who everybody knows. 15 years, most arrests, legend to a degree in this department. And you got the new guy who thinks he's hot stuff. And the way they meet was one of the things I did really, really enjoy. Like, it's a wonderful meeting, and then it's one of those, oh, that's who? Oh, man. And then there's kind of this make-up ability where, like, Rami Malek's character, Jim Baxter, wants to, like, not come off like he's disrespectful, and really does kind of lean on Denzel for help when he sees that Denzel might be able to offer him something. And I like the way Malek carries himself. Denzel, there's a moment when he walks into the precinct, he's just got this swag to him that you see in a lot of these types of roles. And I love seeing that classic swag where the wiry frame of Malek and the rigidness to the way that he kind of approaches everything very much by the book kind of sets up this nice duality between the two, and allows Malek to kind of play in these areas where, he is kind of muted to a degree, right? Like, he knows what he does, and when he does what he does, nobody dies. So when things start to get away from him a little bit more, and he starts to rely a little bit more on Denzel, you kind of see him losing his grip on that control. And watching Malek do that stuff is really, really fun. And then you have Mr. Jared Leto, the biggest chameleon in all of acting, man. This guy just disappears into the roles that he takes on. And, like, there, like, that image, right? Like, yeah, 100% that's Jared Leto. But there are times in this movie when he's talking, when you look at him, you're like, is that Jared Leto, though? Like, he just does little things to the physical part of his performance that just create these characters that are completely original, man. And everything he is doing here with Albert Sparma, who is our number one suspect, oh, I love it. Like, I wanted so much more from him, and I kind of wanted a different movie so we could have gotten a lot more of him, and a lot more of the cat and mouse. Because when this movie is playing with Leto, I think he's the most interesting thing on screen anytime he's on screen at all. And the cat and mouse game between him and Denzel and him and Malek, I really, really dug, because he is weird, man. Like, this is a guy who, like, he could totally be the killer that we're after, but at the same time, like, he's so weird he might not be the killer we're after. And I love what he does with this character. Like, it's so much more interesting than what somebody else would have done with it. And that's the thing that I love about Leto. The problem that I have with the movie is, while it very much wants to be one of those 1990s neo-noir kind of crime dramas, it doesn't want to fully commit to what those movies were. So while we see things that are very, very reminiscent of those types of movies from John Lee Hancock, specifically in his script, and the cinematography that we get from John Schwartzman, who does a really, really nice job. He paints... we're in California, in L.A. County, and he paints a very distinct picture of L.A. County, even though we don't see a ton of L.A. County landmarks. And it's that type of just, like, where it's kind of eerie and creepy, and just the lighting and stuff that pull these wonderful moments together and bring in these feelings of, like, oh, man, this is so, like, this type of movie that I love, and then I want it to do something, and it doesn't do that. And that's where the originality areas in the script for me from Hancock just don't always land. He's more interested in the psychology of the two detectives, which I'm fine with. Like, I love that. You get a case that pushes you to your potential breaking point. I like dissecting that kind of psychology. But I feel like he's just too wrapped up in that and not wrapped up in the story that we're invested in. And the other thing, too, that works for me and, like, doesn't work for me is the score that we get from Thomas Newman. he does some really cool things with the score that work at times. Specifically, a lot of the Malek and Washington back and forth. So when they're in the car, some of the things that he's playing with, specifically with the kind of more synth, keyboard type sounds, really, really works. But then there are moments in the movie where I want that tension to be really, really pulled taut. And you want those strings to be hitting. Those classical notes to that kind of 90s style noir. And then you get these kind of newer or more original sounds, and it doesn't connect. You know what I mean? And there are times where it's like, why are we doing this when I want to be like low and dirty and gritty and like really on the edge of my seat, like wondering what is about to happen? Because John Lee Hancock paints and brings us to moments like that in the movie many times, and there are moments where either the writing or the score kind of take us away from it. So while I'm loving everything John Schwartzman's doing cinematography-wise, and I'm loving everything these three guys are doing in the movie, it's the approach to the movie and what John Lee Hancock is going after that just doesn't quite work. And there's a way that you can do what John Lee Hancock wants to do with this movie and also do what I wanted the movie to do. And it could have been something that was, original, but certainly inspired from those, 90s noir movies. And that's just the disconnect for me. It's where it ends up, where we end up by the end of the film, where I'm like, you were doing some, interesting things, but I feel like all the things that I wanted the payoffs on, I didn't quite get the way that I wanted it. And that's the danger when you play with something that pulls on nostalgia, because I'm in, and you're doing, like I said, a lot of those things that are kind of cliche to a degree with this type of movie, but like that's what you're going for. So when you don't execute that all the way through, this is the mark for me. So for me, phenomenal performances. Really, really wonderful movie to look at. I think the camera and the lighting and just the composition of the movie really allows for it to go to those places that you want it to. It's just the script and at times the score don't quite match with what you're hoping to get out of it. So there you go, man. Those are all my thoughts on The Little Things, Warner Brothers' first 2021 movie, dropping on HBO Max and in theaters same day. Now I want to know what you're thinking. Have you had a chance to check this out? Were you excited for The Little Things? And it's one of those things, where Denzel talks about the little things that make or break a case. What gets you caught or not caught. And that's the thing that kind of slips here. It's those little things that you kind of want to be cleaned up a little bit better. So did the movie fall for you in that way, or did you really dive in and dig into this one? What were your takeaways if you've come from the world of the 90s noir, or if you haven't? What did this movie do or not do that worked or didn't work for you? If you haven't seen the movie, have really enticed you to want to see it? I tell you what, if you enjoy acting, specifically like really, really good performances, or you enjoy all three or any of these three actors, totally worth the watch. They hold it together. It's just, I think, being what we got, I think it's the length that really killed it for me. Because the pacing is a little too slow and the movie's a little too long when we get the payoffs that we get in it. So did the movie drag for you at all? Anything you're thinking, good, bad, indifferent about The Little Things, down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime. We're talking movies, TV, trailers, dancing our way into the weekend. That might be coming back this weekend. We'll see how dead I am when I get back from work later. If you want to be here for any of that, and you haven't already come and joined our C-Maniac Nation, you can do that. If you jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. If not, hope you come back, and give us another go, and we get to spend some more time with you, and then maybe you want to hit that subscribe button. Show a little love to the old C-Man. Please do show your support if you're digging what we're doing. And until next time, for the C-Mans, Cinema, sit down! I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, that's all live and breathe. You still here? Check out a video like this one or this one. And hit the subscribe button so you can get alerts and check out everything the C-Man's got at the Cinema Sit Down.